As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's got the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I am, as always, your host with the mostest, whatever, close enough, Seth. Today I have Jen Cavelle all the way from across the pond in the UK. She has been an entrepreneur in the UK for more than a few decades. Micro and small businesses have been what her specialty is, building them even from her kitchen table as a single mother of 2 young children. And it turned into a multi-million-dollar turnover business, which is kind of incredible. Because, I mean, when you think about it, being a mom is a business in its own right. And being a single mom is even more. It's like running a multinational. So anyhow, she is an author. She was chosen as one of the first 50 women to represent the UK in the European Union. And let's bring Jen in today. Hey, Jen, how's it going?
I'm okay, Seth. Thank you very much for inviting me on the show.
Oh, this is so much fun. I'm glad. So where in the UK are you based?
I'm literally on the coast looking out to France. On a clear day, I can see it.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's France.
For me, it's a good thing. I'm a big Francophile, so yeah.
Oh, don't tell the Brits that. Yeah. So how far? So you hop on the tram and get over there, or is it kind of you still have to go to London to get on it?
Yeah, you do. It's ridiculous. You have to. It's stopped because of COVID. You used to be able to go locally, and I was thinking last night. I wonder when they're restarting it because it's a crazy thing to have to go up to go down. You know.
Up to go down, to left to right. Well, I know how that is. It's how I have to get to New York. I'm just north of Philadelphia, and we're already in the weeds already as we're talking here. But I have to drive south to get onto the train to go north to New York to get on the train to go to New York. It's so bizarre. I can just straight across. Just having never done that. I just know the Hamilton train station, so it makes sense to me to go south. So inside baseball. But anyhow, Jan, I always ask, how's the weather in the UK today? Is it good?
The weather is immensely patchy in the UK today, as it has been all summer. Well,
yeah, but always patchy.
UK, it's patchy.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of known for your rain and kind of green.
But normally, particularly down here, we get a wonderful summer, and it's been weird this summer. Lots of wind, lots of rain. Yeah, most displeased with the whole thing.
So you started your business. Your first was it your first business you started from your kitchen table?
It wasn't
how did this all get started? Let's start with that. Like, who was Jan, and how did this all get started?
Well, it wasn't my first business, Seth. I worked for myself and had a couple of small businesses with friends, but not very sort of motivated to grow anything or to do it very seriously type of businesses. And then, as you rightly said, I found myself a single mom. And not a good divorce, should we say. So there I was, very small children at that stage, and remarkably stuck for money, struggling to keep a roof over our heads. And I thought, what on earth do I do? So I went to our sort of version of Social Security, or the sort of social one. I said, look, you can either support me and my kids for the next 20 odd years, or you can support me while I try and start a business and get that off ground.
Very
And
entrepreneurial. Yeah.
surprisingly, they said yes. I think we're a bit more flexible in those days.
Oh,
So
so they were like, "We would much rather have you get on your feet faster, so we don't have to support you for
they
20
looked at me
years."
as if I was very odd, but I'm not used to such inquiries. But yeah,
But
I
that's
mean,
why a lot of
it's
people look
all
at entrepreneurs as odd. So you're not that was not that
well,
odd that
exactly,
it was not
exactly.
that odd that they thought you of you as odd. So there you go.
Not the usual they got on a Thursday morning appointment, but yeah, they let me do it, and
Yeah.
so we got a sort of tiny bit of money while I thought, what do I do? And in those circumstances, you're very strapped. You can't go out and see clients. You don't want people coming to the house.
Oh, 'cause
I
I'm sure
wanted
it's a
to look
mess at that
after the
point. Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
So it had to be something home based initially, which
Yeah.
meant selling on the phone, which
Yeah.
I had some experience in. So I thought a sort of drop shipping type model, not that anybody knew
Ooh.
what drop shipping was in those days,
Yeah.
but that principle of buying something and selling it on. And so that's what I started. Very rickety, very small, just me initially. And the demand grew. I'd hit a gold seam on what we were doing, which was supplying mostly bespoke furniture to interior designers.
Ooh. You find it, they like what you find and you sell it on.
That's all I was doing for a long, long time, for many years, but gradually, it got tricky to get the supply right. And
Yeah.
so I sort of fell into manufacturing, and that was complicated because, of course, I didn't know what I was doing. If anybody's grown a business as ignorantly as I was, I don't think
Mhm.
I've met them yet. So,
I was pretty ignorant when I started my own
where
business. I
you
mean, I'd been doing web design on the side, but never as a business, and I decided, "Let me do this to get a job." I never had sales or business experience in my life. I was a journalist,
right,
and so, yeah, I was pretty ignorant, pretty,
yeah.
green at the very beginning, but it was kind of the fun of it too. It's kinda now
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the fun of it now that you think back on it, it's fun. When you're in it, you're like, "What the hell am I doing?"
I much preferred being ignorant. I think it was after I learned more that I got much more scared. There's a
Oh,
wonderful
really?
uh, i- consolation in ignorance. You
Yeah.
don't realize
And so
quite how crazy you're being.
you wrote 2 books, Scale
I
for
have done,
Success
yeah,
and Start for Success, which
that's
is
right.
so that's the newest one, Start for Success, which is in 2023. It literally just came out, like, wow,
Yeah,
hot off the presses kinda thing. Another one was in 2021. So, like, kind of ending of the pandemic, starting of the endemic, and
yeah. But
after kinda like when things are loosening up. That's kinda cool. So you're a recent author. We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
I am. It was something I'd always wanted to do. Had I not got sidetracked with marriage and children and one thing and another, all I really wanted to do was write, and I never got around to it. And so when finally I decided I'd had enough of businesses and I just needed to sleep for about 10 years, when I woke up, I thought, hold on a second, I could try that.
That's pretty
And
wild.
yeah.
What was the writing process like? Was it fun? Was it daring? Was it, like, exhausting?
On the book, it was fascinating because I hadn't a clue what I was doing, and I thought I'll give it a go, and then I got involved, and I was doing a lot of research and speaking to a lot of people, and I thought, hold on a second, I've taken up a lot of valuable people's time. I'm going to have to do something about this and see if I can actually get it published. And I tell you this, I had all the luck in the world. It
Yeah.
was Christmas time. I tried to send off 2 or 3 submissions. If anybody's ever tried to write, we know how hard it is to
Yeah,
get
oh,
a
it's
book
tough,
published.
yeah.
one of them bounced back on my email. And
Oh
so I wrote a
no.
rather bad-tempered tweet to the publisher concerned and said, your email's bouncing. And a really nice guy came back to me and said, well, send it to my private email address. And he was one of the business editors there. And so, which you just don't get through that slash bar like that.
For those in audio, my mouth just dropped. Those watching
I
the video, you
know.
can see my mouth just dropped. So
So, there I was, and he said, well, send it to me. And just after Christmas, I got a phone call from Bloomsbury saying, come in and chat.
that's awesome. So you're not even self-published, you're like real published.
I've done both now because I wanted to have a go at self-publishing, because so many
Yeah.
people swear by it with this second one. And also my lovely editor, who was so nice to me on my email, actually has moved from Bloomsbury. So I thought maybe now's the time to try it. So
There
so
you
yeah,
go.
I've had both experiences.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Mm.
Which one do you like better?
Pros and cons, I think,
Yeah,
lots going for both.
that's wild. I mean, I know a lot of we go the traditional route, not the real route, but the traditional route. I hear that a lot of times if you're not a big name person, you're still marketing yourself as it is. So it's
Oh
sort of
yeah.
like yeah, so it's sort of like why not just self-publish and not lose half the rights kind of thing. So
There was an element of that as to why I did it. It seemed to me that if they were taking a huge sum of money and you were still doing all the
mhm.
hard graft, but actually you underestimate quite how much money and hard graft you're going to have to
Oh, I'm
do as a
sure, yeah.
self-publisher if you haven't done it before. Much better
Absolutely.
second time around, I'm sure, but first time it's quite a shock to the system
Yeah, exactly.
self-publishing.
It's kinda nice to know the first time, kinda have to be handheld a little bit, I guess, too.
Yeah, I didn't want to, I thought I could do it on my own, and so I was as stubborn as I've always been and was attempting to do something I didn't know I was doing.
That's great. But so, alright, so what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Because 'Cause you've done all kinds of different things.
I have, yeah. I mean, I think each experience has been so amazing. To me, it's
Mhm.
always been the freedom. And I think
Mhm.
that's the same for a lot of people. It's one of the major reasons people go into entrepreneurship, as you know. It's just being able to make the decisions yourself,
Mhm.
to have the choices, have to live with the consequences, good and bad.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
So on the
definitely
flip
the
side,
freedom.
what keeps you now that you've been a successful entrepreneur, you've had a big exit and, all that stuff, what keeps you up at night now
Mm.
versus in the beginning? I'm sure in the beginning, the kids kept you up and making sure money was coming in and all that, but, like, now that the kids are grown up and all that stuff.
Do you stop worrying about them when they're grown up? I mean, I don't
You
think
don't
I
you
ever
never
have.
stop because then you kind of you have less control. It's weird, yeah.
Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. What keeps me up now? Yeah, I mean, certainly worry about my kids. But apart from that, very little. It was a very hard decision to come to the end of having businesses, and I still sometimes think, oh, that's not. Nope, nope. You've stopped that. That's enough. Put it
Yeah,
down.
yeah, calm down, calm down. You don't do any more businesses.
Yeah,
Not yet. You're now an author. You now can, speak and do all that stuff, and that's a
yeah.
business then that's a business in its own right.
It is, and but equally, I'm at a stage in life where I'm not under pressure to build anything, which
Oh, that's
is
nice,
a
yeah.
huge release after all those years of fighting on
Mhm, absolutely. So, what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
that urge to learn. I think
Oh, I love that, yeah.
I don't think if I think the day you lose that, you lose virtually anything.
And you
If
have to
you
keep
haven't got
learning.
that hunger for learning.
You have to keep learning, and then that's
Yeah.
kind of important, is that you learn, you improve, you grow, you
Mm,
slap your wrist when you try and start a new business, but you learn but you also but that's something you learned. You learned that you need to take a break from building businesses, that you
mm.
need to, pivot to more, less product businesses, more writing businesses kind of thing. That's kinda
That
cool.
too. Yeah, yeah. But you need to be agile, I think, as an entrepreneur, particularly in this day and age. You
Yeah,
just don't know what's happening.
it's crazy. So,
Yeah.
Jan, where can people find you online? Where's your big watering hole?
Well, my big watering hole, I guess, is either my website, it's
Yeah.
jancavelle.co.uk, or Amazon for my books.
Yeah.
It's nice and easy, or Barnes& and Noble, but Amazon's usually where people default to these days.
Yeah, I'm sure they can get it anywhere, yeah. And I also you're also on LinkedIn, Facebook,
I am.
you're
I mean,
you're
all the
everywhere, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, and Cavelle's not that usual, so I'm pretty easy to find Jan Cavelle on
Yes.
all the usual channels.
That's wild. So, Jan, thank you so much for coming on. This has been such a pleasure.
Well, Seth, my pleasure. Thank you.
This is so much fun. And we'll see everyone next time. That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Lacey Boggs hosts and produces a great podcast called Ace Stone Marketing Detective. Little bit different than your normal podcast on MPN. Lacey, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
Ace Stone Marketing Detective is a fully scripted and produced fictional radio play that follows crack marketing detective Ace Stone as she bamboozles the bad guys and detects dastardly deeds in the marketing industry. The podcast is a funny, tongue-in-cheek look at content marketing, shady marketers, and suspicious marketing techniques online. And I think it's a fun new way to have a business podcast that proves that marketing can be playful and effective.
Where can people subscribe to this thing?
You can go to acemarketingdetective.com or find it in your favorite podcast player or go to the Marketing Podcast Network.
You heard her. Go subscribe.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.